Welcome, seekers of destiny, to a story of awakening and ancient power. Meet Elena Moreau, a woman whose ordinary life is about to shatter the night her hidden werewolf bloodline ignites. Some powers can't stay hidden forever, and some alphas will risk everything to protect them. Chapter 1. The coffee shop smelled like burnt espresso and broken dreams. Exactly how Elena Moreau felt at 26, serving lattes to people who actually had their lives together. Grande caramel macchiato, she called out, sliding the cup across the scarred wooden counter. The businessman didn't even look up from his phone as he grabbed it. Elena wiped down the espresso machine for the third time that hour, her fingers trembling slightly. The tremors had started 2 weeks ago. Small things at first, cups rattling when she touched them, lights flickering when she walked past. Her doctor said it was stress. Her therapist said it was anxiety. But neither of them could explain the dreams. Every night for the past month, Elena had dreamed of running through ancient forests on 4 legs, her senses so sharp she could taste the fear of prey on the wind. She'd wake up gasping, her sheets soaked with sweat, her body aching like she'd actually been running for miles. "You okay, Elena?" Jessa, her co-worker, touched her shoulder. Elena flinched at the contact. For just a second, less than a heartbeat, she'd felt something surge through her veins. Something hot and electric and absolutely terrifying. "Fine," Elena lied, forcing a smile. "Just tired." "Girl, you're always tired lately. Maybe you should actually take a day off instead of covering everyone's shifts." Elena shrugged. What else was she supposed to do? It wasn't like she had a life outside this place. No family. Her parents had died in a car accident when she was 3, and she'd bounced through foster homes until she aged out of the system. No real friends except Jessa. No romantic prospects unless you counted the guy who asked for her number while his wedding ring glinted in the fluorescent light. "I'm good," Elena insisted. Really, but she wasn't good. And as the afternoon sun slanted through the coffee shop windows, casting everything in shades of amber and gold, Elena felt that strange heat building in her chest again. Like something was clawing to get out. The door chimed. Elena looked up automatically, her customer service smile already in place, and froze. The man who entered wasn't just handsome. He was devastating. Well over 6 feet tall, with broad shoulders that strained against his black leather jacket. Dark hair fell across his forehead, and his eyes, his eyes, were the color of liquid silver. They swept the coffee shop with predatory precision before locking onto Elena. She couldn't breathe. He moved toward the counter with a fluid grace that seemed almost inhuman, never breaking eye contact. Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. Her skin prickled with awareness. And that heat in her chest, it exploded into something like recognition. Like coming home. "What can I get you?" Elena's voice came out breathy and uncertain. The corner of his mouth quirked up. "Black coffee. No sugar." Of course he took it black. He looked like the kind of man who didn't need anything sweetened. Elena's hands shook as she poured the coffee. She could feel him watching her, his gaze heavy and assessing. When she turned to hand him the cup, their fingers brushed. The world exploded. Energy, raw and primal and absolutely overwhelming, shot through Elena's body. The lights overhead burst in a shower of sparks. Every window in the coffee shop cracked simultaneously, and Elena's vision went white-hot as something ancient and powerful surged through her bloodstream. She heard screaming. It took her a moment to realize it was coming from her own throat. Strong hands gripped her shoulders. The silver-eyed stranger pulled her against his chest, his voice a low rumble in her ear. "Breathe, Elena. Just breathe. I've got you." "How do you know my name?" she gasped. "Because I've been searching for you for 5 years." Elena's legs gave out, but he caught her effortlessly, lifting her into his arms like she weighed nothing. Through the haze of shock, she was dimly aware of Jessa shouting, of other customers backing away in fear. "What's happening to me?" Elena whispered. The stranger looked down at her, and in his silver eyes she saw recognition, understanding, and something that looked almost like relief. "You're awakening," he said simply, "and we need to leave. Now. I don't even know you. My name is Kael Thorne. I'm the Alpha of the Northern Pack." His grip tightened on her as sirens wailed in the distance. "And you, Elena Moreau, are the last descendant of the Lunar bloodline, the most powerful werewolf dynasty in history." Elena's laugh came out broken and slightly hysterical. "Werewolves aren't real. Tell that to the power currently trying to tear its way out of your skin." He was right. Elena could feel it. something massive and wild thrashing inside her, demanding release. Her fingernails had sharpened into claws. When she glanced at her reflection in a broken window shard, her eyes glowed with an eerie golden light. "This can't be happening," she whispered. "It is. And if we don't get you somewhere safe in the next 5 minutes, you're going to shift for the first time in front of a dozen humans with camera phones. Is that what you want?" "No. God, no. Where are we going?" Kael's smile was equal parts dangerous and protective. "Home." He carried her out the back exit, just as police cars screeched to a halt out front. Elena buried her face against his chest, overwhelmed by his scent. Pine and smoke and something wild that called to every newly awakened instinct in her body. A sleek black SUV waited in the alley. Kael deposited her in the passenger seat before sliding behind the wheel. The engine roared to life, and they peeled out onto the main road. "I need you to stay calm," Kael said, his voice steady and commanding. "Your first shift is going to try to happen soon. Your body is reacting to my presence. I'm an alpha, and your wolf recognizes me as..." He cut himself off. "Just focus on breathing. In through your nose, out through your mouth." "What were you going to say?" Elena demanded, even as she tried to follow his instructions. "My wolf recognizes you as what?" Kael's hands tightened on the steering wheel. His jaw clenched. "As your mate." The word hung in the air between them, heavy with implications Elena couldn't begin to process. "That's insane," she breathed. "Is it?" Kael glanced at her, his silver eyes intense. "You felt it when we touched. That recognition. That rightness. Your wolf knew me the moment I walked into that coffee shop. He wasn't wrong." Elena had felt something. A connection so profound it had literally caused an explosion of power. But mates? Like fated soulmates? That was the kind of thing that happened in romance novels, not real life. Except werewolves were apparently real. So maybe anything was possible. "I don't understand any of this," Elena said, her voice small and lost. "I know." Kael's expression softened slightly. "But I promise I'll explain everything. You're safe with me, Elena. I swear it on my life." She wanted to believe him. Every instinct in her body was screaming at her to trust this stranger who'd just upended her entire existence. But the rational part of her brain, the part that had kept her alive through years of foster care and disappointment, was throwing up red flags everywhere. "How did you even find me?" she asked. "I've been tracking the lunar bloodline for years. When the last known descendant died without heirs, I thought the line had ended. But then, 3 months ago, there were reports of strange occurrences in this city. Electrical disturbances, unexplained weather patterns, all centered around your coffee shop." His lips quirked. "Your power has been leaking out, Elena, calling to others like us." "Others? There are werewolf packs all over the world. Some good, some." He trailed off, his expression darkening. "Some who would kill to possess someone with your abilities." Fear spiked through Elena's chest. What abilities? The lunar bloodline was blessed by the moon goddess herself. Your ancestors could heal mortal wounds, command the elements, see the future. They were protectors and warriors. Legends. Kael turned onto a narrow road leading into dense forest. "You're not just a werewolf, Elena. You're royalty." The word hit her like a physical blow. Royalty. Her, the girl who'd grown up in thrift store clothes and government cheese, was apparently werewolf royalty. "I think I'm going to be sick," Elena muttered. "Hold on. We're almost there." The SUV climbed higher into the mountains, the city falling away behind them. Ancient trees pressed close to the road, their branches forming a canopy that blocked out the fading sunlight. Elena's skin prickled with awareness. She could feel eyes watching from the shadows. "Your pack," she guessed. Kael nodded. "They've been waiting for you." "What if I don't want this?" Elena's voice cracked. "What if I just want to go back to my normal, boring life?" "You can't." Kael's tone was gentle but firm. "Your power has awakened. There's no stopping it now. You can either learn to control it with my help, or it will consume you from the inside out." "That's not a choice." "No," he agreed. "It's not. I'm sorry, Elena. Truly. But your bloodline chose you for this. And now so have I." The SUV burst into a clearing, and Elena's breath caught. A massive log mansion sprawled before them, all warm wood and glowing windows. But it was what surrounded the house that made her heart race. Dozens of people stood in formation, their eyes reflecting in the darkness like cats. No, not like cats. Like wolves. Kael parked and came around to open her door. Elena's legs shook as she stood, suddenly aware of how vulnerable she was. These were predators. Every single one of them. And she was about to walk into their den. "Trust me," Kael murmured, offering his hand. Elena looked at his outstretched palm. At the people, werewolves, watching with a mixture of curiosity and hunger. At the forest that seemed to pulse with ancient magic. She thought about her tiny apartment, her dead-end job, the emptiness that had defined her entire life. And then she thought about the power humming beneath her skin, about dreams of running wild and free, about silver eyes that looked at her like she was precious. Elena placed her hand in Kael's. The moment their skin touched, light exploded from her palm, pure, radiant, and absolutely terrifying. It illuminated the entire clearing, bright as the full moon. The assembled werewolves gasped and dropped to one knee in unison. "Impossible," someone whispered. Kael stared at Elena with wonder and something that might have been fear. "The lunar mark. It's been dormant for 3 centuries. What does it mean?" Elena asked, her voice barely audible. Kael's grip on her hand tightened. His silver eyes blazed with intensity as he looked at her. Really looked at her. Like she was the most important thing in the entire world. "It means you're not just descended from the lunar bloodline, Elena. You are the Lunar Queen. The one the prophecies spoke of. The one who will either save us all." He paused, and Elena's blood ran cold. "Or destroy everything." Chapter 2. The great hall of the Northern Pax estate was built for warriors. Rough-hewn timber beams, a stone fireplace large enough to roast a whole elk, and mounted weapons that looked ancient and well-used. Elena sat in a leather chair that swallowed her small frame, acutely aware of the dozens of eyes tracking her every movement. Kael stood beside her like a sentinel, his presence both comforting and overwhelming. The lunar mark on her palm had faded to a faint shimmer, but she could still feel its power thrumming beneath her skin. An elderly woman approached, her silver hair braided with what looked like moonstone beads. Despite her age, she moved with predatory grace. Her eyes, one blue, one gold, fixed on Elena with unsettling intensity. "So the prophecy comes to pass," the woman said, her voice like wine through ancient trees. "I am Mara, seer of the Northern Pack. I have waited 70 years to see this moment." "What prophecy?" Elena's voice came out stronger than she felt. Mara settled into the chair across from her, and the assembled pack members drew closer, forming a loose circle. Kael's hand came to rest on Elena's shoulder, warm and reassuring. 300 years ago, Mara began, the lunar bloodline ruled over all werewolf packs with wisdom and justice. They were blessed by the moon goddess herself, healers, warriors, and prophets. But power always attracts darkness. Elena's hands clenched in her lap. She could feel the story settling into her bones like inherited memory. A rival pack, the Shadow Collective, sought to steal that power. They believed if they could consume the heart of a Lunar Queen, they would gain her abilities. So they launched an attack during the harvest moon, the one night when the lunar bloodline's powers were at their peak, but also when they were most vulnerable. The fire crackled. Someone in the crowd shifted restlessly. The reigning Lunar Queen, Seraphina, saw what was coming. With her dying breath, she cast a spell, a safeguard. She scattered her bloodline's power across future generations, hiding it in dormant carriers. The power would sleep until the world needed it most, until a true threat emerged that only the Lunar Queen could face. Elena's throat tightened. "And you think I'm, what? The reincarnation of this queen?" "Not reincarnation," Kael interjected quietly. "Evolution. Each generation carried a fragment of Seraphina's power. But you, Elena, you carry all of it. Every gift, every ability, concentrated in one person." "The prophecy states," Mara continued, her mismatched eyes gleaming, "that when the lunar mark appears again, it signals 2 things. The return of the Lunar Queen and the resurgence of the Shadow Collective. They are 2 sides of the same ancient coin, locked in an eternal cycle of destruction and rebirth." Fear spiked through Elena's chest. "You're saying these Shadow Collective people are coming for me?" "They're already here," a male voice called from the crowd. A tall man with a scarred face stepped forward. "We've had reports of shadow wolves in the territory for the past week. They're tracking something." "Tracking someone," Kael corrected, his jaw tight. "They sensed her awakening just like I did." Elena shot to her feet, panic clawing at her throat. "Then I need to leave. I need to go somewhere they can't find me. I won't put you all in danger. You can't run from this." Kael grasped her arms gently, forcing her to meet his eyes. The Shadow Collective can track lunar bloodline anywhere in the world. The only way to survive is to master your abilities before they strike. To become the queen you were meant to be. I don't know how to be a queen. Elena's voice broke. I don't know how to be a werewolf. 24 hours ago, my biggest problem was whether to switch to the day shift. Then we teach you, Mara said firmly. She rose and approached Elena, placing one weathered hand over Elena's lunar mark. Warmth spread up Elena's arm, soothing and ancient. The power is already inside you, child. It's been waiting your whole life. We simply help you remember. Remember what? Who you really are. Mara's hand glowed, and suddenly Elena was falling into a vision so vivid it felt like memory. She saw herself. No, not herself, but someone who looked hauntingly similar, standing on a cliff overlooking a vast forest. The woman wore armor made of moonlight, and her eyes blazed with golden fire. Power radiated from her in visible waves. My daughter, the woman spoke, and Elena realized with a jolt that she was seeing Queen Seraphina. If you're seeing this, then the prophecy has begun. The blood of our line runs strong in you. Do not fear it. Do not reject it. You were chosen for this burden, yes, but also for this gift. Seraphina raised her hand, and the moon seemed to descend from the sky, swirling around her in ribbons of silver light. 3 gifts I bestow upon my heir. The gift of restoration, to heal any wound, mend any broken thing. The gift of storms, to command the elements themselves. And the gift of sight, to see what was, what is, and what may yet be. Her expression softened with something like sorrow. But know this, great power demands great sacrifice. To fully embrace your destiny, you must give up the life you knew. You must become more than human, more than wolf. You must become legend. The vision fractured, and Elena gasped back to awareness in the great hall. Tears streamed down her face, though she couldn't say why. Kael steadied her as her knees buckled. What did you see? He asked urgently. Her. Seraphina. She left me a message. Elena wiped her eyes, straightening her spine. Something had shifted inside her during that vision. A sense of purpose clicking into place like a key in a lock. She gave me 3 gifts. Restoration, storms, and sight. The hall erupted in whispers. Mara's eyes went wide. All 3, the seer breathed. No one has wielded all 3 gifts since Seraphina herself. The power required to contain them would be immense, Kael finished. He studied Elena with new appreciation and new worry. Elena, using even one of those gifts untrained could kill you. The energy has to go somewhere. If you can't control it, it will burn through me from the inside out. Elena finished quietly. Seraphina showed me. She showed me what happens to lunar queens who can't master their power. She'd seen it in the vision's edges. Queens consumed by their own abilities, reduced to ash and screaming. The price of failure. Then we start training. Tonight, Kael turned to address the pack. Marcus, secure the perimeter. Double the patrols. If the Shadow Collective is in our territory, I want to know about it. Vera, prepare the training grounds. Mara, gather the ancient texts on lunar bloodline abilities. The pack dispersed with military precision, leaving Elena alone with Kael and Mara. There's something else, Elena said quietly. In the vision, Seraphina mentioned sacrifice. What did she mean? Kael and Mara exchanged a long look. Tell me, Elena demanded. No more secrets. Mara sighed. To fully access the lunar gifts, you must complete the ascension ritual. It requires 3 things: mastery of your wolf form, acceptance of the mate bond, and... She paused. A willing sacrifice of your human life. Elena's stomach dropped. What does that mean? I have to die. Not die, Kael said carefully. But you can never return to the human world. Once you ascend, you become something other. Immortal, or nearly so. Bound to the supernatural realm forever. The coffee shop flashed through Elena's mind. Her tiny apartment, her co-worker Jessa. The simple mundane existence she'd built from nothing. It wasn't much, but it was hers. How long do I have? She asked. The Shadow Collective will attack within the next full moon, Mara said. 3 weeks. You must be ready by then, or we all fall. 3 weeks to master powers she didn't understand. 3 weeks to decide if she was willing to give up everything she'd ever known. 3 weeks to become a legend. No pressure. Okay, Elena said, squaring her shoulders. Then we better get started. Kael's expression shifted to something fierce and proud. That's my queen. The words sent a shiver down Elena's spine. not of fear, but of recognition, as if some part of her had been waiting her whole life to hear them. First lesson, Kael continued, leading her toward a side door. Your wolf form. It's going to try to emerge within the next few hours. We need to make sure your first shift doesn't destroy the house. They emerged into a moonlit clearing behind the estate. The forest pressed close, alive with nocturnal sounds. Elena could smell everything. Pine sap, deer tracks from hours ago, the musk of wolves marking territory. Her senses had amplified tenfold since the awakening. Take off your shoes, Kael instructed. Feel the earth beneath your feet. Your wolf is primal. She needs to connect with the natural world. Elena kicked off her sneakers, gasping as her bare feet touched grass. Energy surged up through her soles, wild and electric. Her skin began to ripple. It's happening, she whispered, fear and exhilaration warring in her chest. Don't fight it. Let your wolf come forward. She's been caged your entire life. It's time to set her free. Pain exploded through Elena's body. Her bones cracked and reformed, her muscles tearing and reknitting. She screamed, falling to her hands and knees as fur erupted across her skin. Her vision blurred, then sharpened into hyperfocus. Sounds amplified until she could hear individual heartbeats in the house behind her. And then it was done. Elena stood on 4 legs, her wolf form magnificent and terrifying. She was larger than any natural wolf, nearly the size of a small bear, with fur that seemed to shimmer between silver and gold. When she looked at her reflection in a nearby pond, her eyes glowed with lunar fire. Kael shifted beside her, his own wolf massive and midnight black with those signature silver eyes. He was even larger than her, radiating alpha dominance. Beautiful, his voice echoed in her mind. The pack bond, allowing mental communication. Elena startled. I can hear you, and I can hear you. That's how mated pairs communicate in wolf form. He moved closer, his wolf's head nearly level with hers. How do you feel? Elena tested her new body. The powerful muscles, the sharp claws, the heightened senses. She felt alive in a way she never had before. Complete. Like I've been asleep my entire life, she answered honestly. Like I just woke up. Good. Now run with me. Kael took off into the forest, and Elena followed on instinct. They raced through the trees, leaping over fallen logs and streams, their paws barely touching the ground. The pack bond thrummed between them, growing stronger with every stride. Elena had never felt so free. But as they crested a hill overlooking the territory, Elena's newfound joy evaporated. In the valley below, red eyes glowed in the darkness. Dozens of them, circling, waiting. The Shadow Collective, Kael's mental voice turned grim. They're here. And then, as if responding to Elena's fear, her lunar mark blazed to life. Light exploded from her wolf form, illuminating the entire forest. The shadow wolves below shrieked and scattered, but not before Elena caught a glimpse of their leader. A massive wolf, fur black as void, with eyes like blood moons. He stared directly at Elena across the distance, and she felt his malevolence like a physical touch. Mine, his voice hissed into her mind, poisonous and possessive. The Lunar Queen will be mine. Then he vanished into the shadows, taking his pack with him. Elena's legs gave out. Kael was there instantly, his larger wolf form pressing against hers, lending strength. That was Darius, he explained. Alpha of the Shadow Collective. He's been alive for over 500 years, sustained by dark magic and consumed hearts. He's the one who killed Queen Seraphina. Elena's wolf snarled, a sound that resonated with ancient fury. In that moment, she understood. This wasn't just about her survival. This was about vengeance 3 centuries in the making. Then I'll kill him, Elena vowed. Just like Seraphina should have. Kael's pride flooded through their bond. We'll kill him. Together. They returned to the estate as the first hints of dawn colored the sky. Elena shifted back to human form, Kael immediately draping a blanket around her shoulders. Her first shift had left her exhausted but exhilarated. You did well, he said softly. Most wolves don't maintain control on their first transformation. You're already stronger than you know. I need to be stronger, Elena replied. Darius is coming. I could feel his intent. He won't wait 3 weeks. Then we accelerate your training. Mara can begin teaching you the restoration gift tomorrow. It's the gentlest of the 3. Once you master that. No, Elena interrupted. Teach me the gift of storms first. If Darius attacks, I need to be able to defend myself and this pack. Healing won't stop him, but lightning might. Kael studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You're thinking like a queen already. I'm thinking like someone who refuses to be a victim. Elena met his silver gaze steadily. My whole life, I've been powerless. Shuffled from home to home, always on the outside looking in. But this power, she raised her marked palm. This is mine, and I'm going to use it to protect the people who've given me a home. Something shifted in Kael's expression, respect mingling with deeper emotion. He cupped her face gently, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. You're extraordinary, Elena Moreau. Her breath caught. She could feel the mate bond pulling them together, inevitable as gravity. It would be so easy to close the distance between them, to give in to the connection singing through her veins. But a howl shattered the moment. One of the patrol wolves calling alarm. Kael's head snapped up. They're attacking the eastern border. Now! He shifted in a blur of motion, his black wolf charging toward the tree line. Elena didn't hesitate. She called on her wolf and followed, her Luna power blazing like a beacon in the pre-dawn darkness. The battle had begun. Chapter 3. Elena burst into the eastern sector to find chaos. Shadow wolves poured through a gap in the territorial wards, their red eyes gleaming with bloodlust. Northern pack wolves fought viciously, teeth and claws flashing, but they were outnumbered 3-1. Kael tore through the enemy lines like a force of nature, his alpha power making lesser wolves cower. But even he couldn't be everywhere at once. A shadow wolf broke from the pack, charging straight at Elena. Her wolf form tensed, ready to fight. But instead of attacking, she felt something else rising inside her. The gift of storms, responding to her desperation. Elena didn't think. She simply acted. She threw back her head and howled. And the sky answered. Lightning cracked down from the clear dawn sky, striking the charging shadow wolf with pinpoint precision. The creature yelped and collapsed, smoke rising from its fur. Every wolf on the battlefield froze, staring at Elena in shock. Impossible, someone breathed through the pack bond. But Elena was just getting started. She could feel the storm building inside her, wild and magnificent. She raised her marked paw, and thunder rolled across the valley. Dark clouds gathered overhead, swirling into an unnatural vortex. Elena, control it. Kael's voice cut through her focus. You'll bring down the whole forest. He was right. The power was intoxicating, overwhelming. Elena could feel it spiraling beyond her grasp, feeding on her fear and adrenaline. The storm grew larger, lightning striking randomly, wind whipping into a frenzy. She was losing herself to it. A shadow wolf leaped at her exposed flank. Elena tried to move, but her body wouldn't respond. All her energy focused on containing the storm threatening to tear her apart from the inside. Then Kael was there, intercepting the attack. He fought with brutal efficiency, protecting Elena while she struggled with her own power. Breathe, his voice came through their bond, calm and commanding. Feel the power, but don't let it consume you. You're the master, not the servant. Breathe, Elena. Come back to me. Elena latched onto his voice like a lifeline. She forced air into her lungs, imagining the storm as a wild horse she needed to gentle rather than break. Slowly, incrementally, she pulled the power back under control. The clouds began to dissipate. The lightning ceased, and Elena collapsed, shifting back to human form in her exhaustion. Kael shifted beside her, cradling her against his bare chest. Around them, the shadow wolves retreated, dragging their wounded with them. The battle was over. I almost killed everyone, Elena whispered, horror dawning. But you didn't, Kael countered firmly. You pulled it back. Elena, you wielded the gift of storms on your second day as a wolf. That's extraordinary. I can't control it. Not yet. But you will. He helped her to her feet as pack members rushed forward with clothes. That's why we train. Marcus, the scarred warrior from earlier, approached. Blood dripped from a gash on his shoulder, but he bowed deeply to Elena. My queen, he said. You saved us. If you hadn't intervened, they would have overrun our position. Elena looked at the eastern border. Scorch marks from her lightning scarred the earth. 3 shadow wolves lay dead, struck down by her uncontrolled power. She'd done that. She'd killed. Hey! Kael turned her face toward him. They came here to kill us. To kill you. You defended your pack. That's what queens do. I'm not a queen, Elena protested weakly. You are to them. Kael gestured at the assembled northern pack members. Every single one was watching her with a mixture of awe and devotion. They see what I see, a woman who stood against impossible odds to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. That's what makes a true leader, Elena. Not blood or prophecy. Choice. Elena's throat tightened. She'd spent her whole life invisible, unwanted. And now these strangers looked at her like she was something precious. Something worth following. The attack was a test. Mara appeared, her expression grave. Darius wanted to see what you could do. Now he knows. Then he knows I can barely control my own gifts, Elena said bitterly. He also knows you're powerful enough to kill his wolves even untrained, Mara countered. That will make him cautious. It buys us time. How much time? Days. Maybe a week if we're fortunate. Not nearly enough. They returned to the estate as the sun rose fully, casting everything in shades of gold and amber. Elena showered, trying to wash away the blood and terror of her first real battle. When she emerged in borrowed clothes, soft leggings and an oversized sweater, she found Kael waiting outside her room. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Every time I close my eyes, I see those shadow wolves. The ones I killed." Kael took her hand, leading her down a hallway to a private study. A fire crackled in the hearth. He poured them both glasses of amber liquid, whiskey by the smell, and settled on the leather couch. "The first kill is always the hardest," he said quietly. "I still remember mine. A rogue wolf attacking a human family. I was 19, barely in control of my alpha powers. I didn't mean to kill him. I just reacted. Tore out his throat before I realized what I was doing." Elena sipped the whiskey, letting it burn down her throat. "Does it get easier?" "No, but you learn to live with it. To understand that sometimes violence is necessary to protect what matters." His silver eyes met hers. "You have a good heart, Elena. That's rare in our world. Don't let this burden harden you completely." "How do you balance it?" she asked. "The violence and the humanity." Kael smiled slightly. "I found something worth protecting. Someone who reminds me why I fight." The implication hung between them. The mate bond pulsed, warm and insistent. "Kael, about this mate bond." Elena set down her glass. "I don't understand it. How can I be destined for someone I just met?" The moon goddess chooses mates based on soul compatibility. Two halves of the same whole. But destiny doesn't guarantee happiness. That part is up to us. He shifted closer. "I won't force the bond on you, Elena. I know this is all overwhelming. But I need you to know that I see you. Not just the Lunar Queen or the prophecy. I see the woman who worked 3 jobs to survive. Who showed kindness to strangers even when the world showed her none. Who faced impossible odds and chose to fight." Elena's eyes stung. "You don't really know me. Then let me." Kael cupped her face with both hands, his touch gentle despite his warrior's calluses. "Let me know every part of you, the broken pieces and the brilliant ones, the fears and the dreams. Let me stand beside you, not as your alpha or your mate, but as your partner." It was the most romantic thing anyone had ever said to her. And the most terrifying, because Elena could feel herself falling. Despite the insanity of the situation, despite knowing him less than 48 hours, she was falling hard and fast for Kael Thorne. "What if I fail?" she whispered. "What if I can't control my powers and I hurt you? Hurt the pack? Then we'll figure it out together. That's what mates do." Elena made her decision. She closed the distance between them and kissed him. The mate bond ignited like gasoline meeting flame. Power surged between them. Not destructive like her storm, but completing. Like 2 halves of a circuit finally connecting. Elena gasped against Kael's mouth as energy raced through her veins, wild and perfect. Kael pulled her into his lap, deepening the kiss. His hands tangled in her hair, his body radiating heat. Elena could feel his wolf pressing against her consciousness through the bond. Strong, protective, utterly devoted. "Mine," his wolf rumbled in her mind. "Yours," her own wolf answered without hesitation. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elena saw her lunar mark glowing. But now, an identical mark shone on Kael's palm, proof of their completed bond. "Well," Kael said, his voice rough. "That's new." Elena laughed despite everything. The prophecy, the danger, the impossible situation. Because in this moment, wrapped in Kael's arms with their bond humming contentedly between them, she felt something she'd never experienced before. She felt like she belonged. The study door burst open. Mara stood in the threshold, her expression urgent. "Elena, we have a problem. A big one." The warmth drained from Elena's body. "What now?" Darius sent a message. "He's issued a formal challenge under ancient law, Single combat between alphas for rights to claim the Lunar Queen. Mara's mismatched eyes were grave. If Kael refuses, the Shadow Collective can attack without breaking supernatural law. Every neutral pack will side with them. And if he accepts? Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. Then Kael fights Darius one-on-one at the next full moon. To the death. Elena's blood turned to ice. She looked at Kael, who had gone perfectly still. How long? She asked quietly. 11 days, Mara said. 11 days until Kael had to face a 500-year-old alpha, sustained by dark magic. 11 days to master powers she could barely control. 11 days to figure out how to save the man who'd become her entire world in less than 2 days. There has to be another way, Elena said desperately. There is. Mara hesitated, then continued. If Elena completes her ascension before the full moon, she can enter the challenge as a reigning Lunar Queen. Ancient law states that a queen can fight her own battles. Absolutely not, Kael growled. She's not ready. Neither are you. Elena shot back. Kael, you said yourself. Darius has been alive for half a millennium. He's killed Lunar Queens before. What chance do you have against him? More than you have untrained. Then train me faster. They stared at each other, both stubborn, both terrified of losing what they'd just found. Finally, Kael spoke. We train together. Push you as hard and fast as possible. And if you can master your gifts before the full moon, we fight Darius side by side. As Alpha and Queen. As mates. It wasn't ideal. But it was better than watching Kael die. Then we start now, Elena said firmly. No more rest. No more delays. Teach me everything. Kael's expression shifted to fierce pride. As you command, my queen. And so, as the sun climbed higher over the northern pack territory, Elena's true training began. She didn't know if 11 days would be enough. But she'd burn herself to ashes before she let Darius take Kael from her. Chapter 4. The next 10 days blurred into an endless cycle of training, sleeping, and training again. Kael drove Elena relentlessly, pushing her past every limit she thought she had. Days 3 through 5 focused on the gift of storms. Mara brought ancient texts describing how Queen Seraphina had wielded lightning like a sword, wind like a shield. Elena practiced in the valley, learning to call storms with precision instead of panic. Feel the difference between power and control, Kael instructed as Elena stood in the center of a makeshift arena, rain pouring around her. Power is easy, any fool can break things. Control is what separates queens from disasters. Elena gritted her teeth, focusing on a single tree 50 yards away. She extended her marked palm and released a bolt of lightning, guided, focused, exact. The tree split cleanly down the middle. Better, Kael acknowledged. Again. This time, hit the target while dodging. He shifted into wolf form and charged her. Elena yelped, rolling aside while simultaneously calling down another lightning strike. It missed Kael by inches, making him yelp. Too close, Elena shouted. In real combat, Darius won't give you space. Kael shifted back, his eyes intense. You need to fight and use your gifts simultaneously. Again. They went at it for hours until Elena could barely stand. But she was improving. She could feel it. The storm responding more quickly, more accurately to her will. Days 6 and 7, Mara began teaching the gift of restoration. This one was harder, requiring a delicate touch Elena didn't naturally possess. Healing is about seeing what should be and making it so, Mara explained, placing a wounded rabbit in Elena's hands. The creature's leg was badly broken. Feel its pain. Understand the damage. Then visualize wholeness. Elena closed her eyes, her marked hand glowing softly. She could sense the rabbit's agony, the fractured bone, torn tissue. She imagined it whole, and golden light flowed from her palm into the creature. The rabbit's legs straightened. New bone knit together. When Elena opened her eyes, the animal hopped away, completely healed. I did it, Elena breathed. Now do it faster, Mara said, producing another injured animal. In battle, you won't have minutes to concentrate. You'll have seconds. They trained until Elena could heal minor wounds almost instantaneously. But larger injuries, like Marcus's deep claw marks when he volunteered to spar, still took dangerous amounts of time and energy. It's not enough, Elena said on day 8, frustrated tears streaming down her face. If Kael gets badly hurt, I won't be fast enough to save him. Then we focus on prevention, Kael said firmly. You keep Darius at range with your storms. I engage in close combat. We don't give him a chance to land a killing blow on either of us. It was a good strategy. But Elena could see the worry in Kael's eyes. Darius was ancient and cunning. No plan survived contact with him. On day 9, something shifted inside Elena. She was sparring with Kael in wolf form when suddenly her consciousness expanded. She could see herself from outside her body, but also sense Kael's intentions before he moved, glimpse the patrol wolves a mile away, even catch flashes of possible futures branching out like tree roots. The gift of sight had awakened. "Kael, I can see," Elena tried to explain as visions flooded her mind. "I can see everything. Past, present, potential futures. It's too much." Her wolf form collapsed, overwhelmed. Kael shifted and caught her, his hands on her temples. "Focus on my voice," he commanded. "The sight can drive you mad if you don't anchor yourself. Choose what to see. Don't let it choose for you." Elena grabbed onto him desperately, using their mate bond as a tether. Slowly, she learned to filter the visions, to look at specific threads of possibility rather than drowning in all of them. She saw Kael at 10 years old, earnest and lonely, already bearing the weight of future alpha duties. She saw him at 20, fighting rogues to protect his pack. She saw him searching for her across years and miles, driven by instinct he didn't understand. And she saw possible futures. Kael standing victorious over Darius's corpse. Kael lying dead with Elena screaming over him. Both of them falling. Both of them surviving. 1,000 variations, each one dependent on choices not yet made. Which future is real? Elena whispered. "All and none," Mara said, appearing beside them. "The sight shows probability, not certainty. The future changes with every decision. You must use it to guide your actions, not paralyze you with fear." But it was hard not to feel paralyzed when Elena kept seeing visions of Kael, dying in dozens of different ways. On day 10, Kael made a decision. "We complete the ascension ritual tonight." Elena's head snapped up. "I thought we agreed I'd wait until after." "You need the full power to face Darius," Kael interrupted. "And the ascension will cement our bond completely, allowing us to share abilities. When we fight tomorrow, we fight as one being with 2 bodies." "But the sacrifice," Elena protested. "Mara said I could never return to the human world." "Would you want to?" Kael asked gently. "After everything you've discovered about yourself? About us?" Elena thought about her old life. The coffee shop, the tiny apartment, the loneliness that had been her constant companion. Then she thought about the Northern Pack, about finding purpose and power, about the man she'd come to love in just 10 days. "No," she admitted. "I wouldn't." "Then tonight, you become what you were always meant to be. My queen, my mate, my equal." The ascension ritual took place at midnight under the full moon. The entire Northern Pack gathered in the sacred grove, a circular clearing where ancient standing stones hummed with old magic. Elena stood in the center, wearing a simple white dress. Kael stood opposite her, naked to the waist, his marked palm raised. Mara began chanting in a language older than memory. "Elena Moreau," Mara intoned. "Do you accept the power and responsibility of the lunar bloodline? Do you willingly sacrifice your human life to become eternal guardian of the wolf clans?" "I do," Elena said clearly. "Kael Thorne, Alpha of the Northern Pack, do you accept this woman as your mate and queen? Do you swear to stand beside her until death or dishonor parts you?" "I do," Kael said, his silver eyes never leaving Elena's face. "Then by the light of the moon goddess, let the ascension begin." Mara drew a blade across Elena's marked palm, then Kael's. They clasped hands, blood mingling as power surged between them. The full moon seemed to descend from the sky, bathing them both in silver light. Elena felt her humanity burning away, not painfully, but like shedding old clothes that no longer fit. Her senses sharpened beyond anything she'd experienced in wolf form. She could hear the heartbeat of every creature in the forest, smell the rain coming hours before it arrived, see the threads of magic that connected all living things. Her 3 gifts flared to life simultaneously, now fully accessible. The gift of storms made her aware of every weather pattern across the continent. The gift of restoration let her sense every injury, every illness, every broken thing within miles. The gift of sight opened pathways to past, present, and future. And through it all, Kael's presence, stronger now, more complete. She could feel his thoughts as clearly as her own, his strength flowing through their bond. "We are one," his voice echoed in her mind. Forever, Elena answered. When the light faded, Elena stood transformed. Her hair had silver streaks now, her eyes permanently marked with golden fire. The lunar mark on her palm had expanded into intricate patterns running up her arm. Proof of completed ascension. She was no longer just Elena Moreau, coffee shop barista. She was Elena Thorne, Lunar Queen of the Northern Pack. The assembled wolves dropped to one knee as one, including Mara. Only Kael remained standing, and only because he was her equal now, her other half. All hail the Lunar Queen, Mara cried out. May she reign eternal. May she reign eternal, the pack echoed. Elena felt the weight of their devotion, their hope, their fear. She accepted it all. This was her purpose now. Her family. Worth fighting for. Worth dying for. Tomorrow, Elena said, her voice carrying to every corner of the grove, we face the Shadow Collective. Darius thinks he can claim me like a trophy. He thinks I'm just another queen to devour. She raised her marked hand, and lightning crackled across the sky in response. He's going to learn exactly how wrong he is. The pack howled their approval, and Elena let her own howl join theirs. Wild and fierce and absolutely unafraid. Kael took her hand as the crowd dispersed. How do you feel? Powerful, Elena admitted. Terrified. Ready. Good. Because Darius just sent word. He's moved the challenge up. Elena's stomach dropped. To when? Dawn. 4 hours from now. Kael's jaw tightened. He knows we're stronger now. He's not giving us time to rest or prepare further. 4 hours until the fight that would determine everything. 4 hours to figure out how to kill an unkillable enemy. Elena looked at the moon, feeling its power thrumming through her veins. Then she looked at Kael, her mate, her alpha, her everything. Then we don't sleep, she said. We plan. And come dawn, we show Darius exactly what a true Lunar Queen can do. Chapter 5. Dawn broke red and ominous over the Northern Pack territory. Elena stood at the edge of the challenge ground. A massive clearing marked by ancient boundaries that would contain the combat. No outside interference was permitted under the old laws. Whatever happened in that circle would determine the fate of every wolf in attendance. Kael stood beside her, already in warrior mode. He'd stripped down to just pants, his muscled torso marked with protective runes that Mara had painted hours earlier. Elena wore leather armor that one of the pack females had crafted overnight, flexible but reinforced, allowing freedom of movement while offering some protection. Remember the plan, Kael murmured. You control the battlefield with storms. I engage directly. We don't give him a chance to separate us. Elena nodded, trying to calm her racing heart. Through the gift of sight, she'd watched a dozen different versions of this fight. In some, they won. In others, they died horribly. The variables were too many, the outcome too uncertain. But one thread appeared in every victorious future. Elena had to fully embrace her power, even if it meant losing herself to it. Whatever happens, she whispered, I love you. These 10 days with you have been worth everything. Kael turned her face toward him, kissing her fiercely. Then let's make sure we get 10,000 more. The Shadow Collective emerged from the tree line like living nightmares. Dozens of wolves with blood-red eyes and fur like darkness given form. They parted and Darius stepped through. In human form, he was devastatingly beautiful. Angular features, midnight hair, and those terrible crimson eyes that promised suffering. But Elena could see beneath the surface with her sight. Darius was hollow inside, his soul consumed by centuries of dark magic and stolen power. He was an empty vessel pretending at humanity. Lunar Queen, Darius purred, his voice like poison honey. How radiant you look. Seraphina's air indeed. I look forward to tasting your heart. You'll choke on it, Elena shot back. Darius laughed. Such fire. I can see why Kael is besotted. But puppy love won't save you from me, little queen. I've killed stronger than you. Seraphina herself fell before me. Seraphina was exhausted from protecting her people during your cowardly ambush. Kael snarled. You didn't beat her in fair combat. You murdered her. And I'll murder you too, whelp. Then the little queen will be mine to do with as I please. Darius's smile widened, showing too many teeth. I think I'll keep her alive for a few decades. Use that restoration gift to keep her consciousness intact while I feed on her power slowly. Make it last. Rage exploded through Elena. Not just her own, but Kael's, flowing through their bond. She felt her gifts respond, storm clouds gathering overhead. Enough talk, she said coldly. Let's end this. Mara stepped forward as arbiter, her voice ringing across the clearing. Under ancient law, I declare this challenge begun. Combat continues until death or submission. The victor claims all rights contested. She slammed her staff into the ground. Fight! Darius shifted instantly. But his wolf form was wrong. Corrupted. Twice the size of a normal alpha, with diseased-looking black fur and dripping fangs. Dark magic radiated from him in visible waves. Elena and Kael shifted together, their transformations synchronized through their mate bond. Elena's Lunar Queen wolf was magnificent, silver and gold fur seeming to glow with inner light, eyes blazing with three-gift power. Kael's midnight wolf positioned beside her, a shadow to her light. They moved as one. Darius charged with terrifying speed. Elena called down lightning, but he twisted aside at the last second. 500 years of combat experience reading her attack before she completed it. He came at them from the side, claws extended toward Elena's exposed throat. Kael intercepted, taking a vicious rake across his shoulder. Blood sprayed, and Elena felt his pain through their bond. She immediately channeled restoration, golden light flowing between them even as she backpedaled. He's too fast, Kael's voice came through their connection. We need to slow him down. Elena understood. She reached deep into her storm gift, pulling moisture from the air and ground. The temperature plummeted. Ice formed across the clearing, making the terrain treacherous. Darius slipped, his massive form losing traction. It was only a second's advantage, but they used it. Kael went low, hamstringing Darius's back leg. Elena hit him with concentrated lightning from above. The ancient Alpha howled, dark blood sizzling where electricity met corrupted flesh. But he recovered impossibly fast. Darius's wounds closed even as they watched, dark magic knitting torn muscle and burnt fur. He's healing himself with stolen power, Elena realized with horror. We can't win through attrition. She used her sight, looking at probability threads, searching desperately for the path to victory. There she saw it. A moment 3 moves from now where Darius would overextend, leaving his chest exposed. But only if they could lure him into the right position. Kael, I need you to trust me. Attack head-on in 5 seconds. Make it look desperate. That's suicide. Trust me. Kael hesitated only a heartbeat, then launched himself at Darius with apparent recklessness. The ancient Alpha's eyes gleamed with triumph. The whelp was making a mistake born of panic. Darius reared up to meet Kael's charge, his chest exposed exactly as Elena's vision had shown. She poured everything into one massive lightning bolt, channeling not just her storm gift, but her restoration power too, using healing energy to amplify the destructive force. The lightning struck Darius dead center. His howl of agony shook the trees. The smell of burning flesh filled the clearing. He staggered, his heart visible through the massive wound in his chest. But he didn't fall. Impossible, Elena breathed. That should have killed him. Darius shifted to human form. One hand pressed to the gaping hole in his chest. Dark magic swirled around the wound, trying to close it. But Elena's combined gifts had done too much damage. Even his stolen power couldn't heal it fast enough. Clever, he rasped, blood bubbling from his lips. Using restoration to amplify destruction. Serafina never thought of that. His crimson eyes fixed on Elena with terrible hunger. Which is why I'll enjoy consuming you even more. Such innovation deserves to be preserved. He made a gesture and reality tore. Shadow wolves poured through rifts in space. Not the ones who'd come with Darius, but hundreds more. An army. You cheated. Kael roared, shifting to human form. The challenge was single combat. And I'm still standing, aren't I? Darius smiled bloodily. Kill them. All except the queen. Her, I want alive. The northern pack warriors shifted, ready to defend their territory despite being vastly outnumbered. Elena saw the futures branching before her. In most of them, the pack was slaughtered. Kael died protecting her. Everything they'd built together ended in blood and darkness. Unless... Elena looked at the one thread where they survived. It required a sacrifice. A terrible one. She would have to give up control completely. Let her 3 gifts merge and amplify until they transcended anything a Lunar Queen had ever done. It would burn through her ascended form like paper, leaving her mortal. If it left her alive at all. But it was the only way. Elena, no. Kael's voice was frantic in her mind. He'd felt her decision through their bond. Whatever you're planning, don't. We'll find another way. There is no other way. You know that. I won't let you sacrifice yourself. Elena shifted to human form, standing between the Northern Pack and the Shadow Collective army. She looked at Kael, memorizing every detail of his face. "This is what queens do," she said softly. "We protect our people, no matter the cost." Then she closed her eyes and let go. The three gifts erupted simultaneously, merging into something beyond categorization. Elena became the storm. She was the lightning, the wind, the rain. She was every injury and healing force in existence. She was past, present, and all possible futures collapsing into a single moment of absolute power. Her body rose into the air, lifted by wind she'd become. Lightning crackled from her eyes, her mouth, every inch of her skin. The lunar mark expanded to cover her entire body in glowing script. "Impossible," Darius whispered, his eyes wide with genuine fear for the first time in centuries. "No one can contain that much power. You'll burn yourself to nothing." "I know," Elena said, her voice resonating with divine authority. "But I'll take you with me." She released everything. The explosion of power obliterated the shadow wolves in an instant. Hundreds of them simply ceased to exist, their corrupted forms unable to withstand pure lunar energy. The shockwave flattened trees for a quarter-mile. The ground itself cracked and reformed. Darius screamed as Elena's power enveloped him. He tried to flee into shadow, but there was nowhere to hide from a queen who had become the storm itself. She poured all three gifts into destroying him. Lightning burning away his flesh, restoration unmaking the dark magic that sustained him, sight showing her exactly how to unravel 5 centuries of stolen life. "You can't kill me," Darius shrieked. "I'm eternal." "Nothing is eternal," Elena replied, her voice calm despite the agony of power eating her alive. "Seraphina sends her regards." She spoke words in the ancient tongue, words the gift of sight had shown her, hidden in forgotten prophecies. Words that unmade dark magic at its source. Darius's form began to disintegrate, starting from the wound in his chest. He clawed at his own body, trying to hold himself together, but it was futile. Elena watched dispassionately as the ancient evil that had terrorized wolf clans for 500 years crumbled to ash. His final scream echoed across the valley. Then silence. The Shadow Collective was broken. Elena's feet touched ground as her power finally exhausted itself. She collapsed, her body smoking, the lunar mark fractured across her skin. She'd burned through her ascended form just as predicted. She was mortal again. And dying. Kael was there instantly, cradling her against his chest. His face was wet with tears. "No, no, no," he chanted desperately. "Elena, stay with me. Use your restoration gift. Heal yourself." "Can't," she whispered. Blood trickled from her nose, her ears. Nothing left. Used everything. The Northern Pack gathered around them, their expressions devastated. They'd just found their queen, and now they were losing her. "You're not dying," Kael said fiercely. "I forbid it. We're mates. You don't get to leave me. Elena, please." She touched his face with trembling fingers. "Saved you. Worth it." "No. You don't understand. Without the mate bond, I'll follow you into death within days. My wolf won't survive losing you. So if you die, I die too. Is that what you want?" Elena's eyes widened. She hadn't known. Hadn't realized that her sacrifice would kill him too. "Then I guess," she said with immense effort, "I better not die." She reached deep, deeper than she'd ever gone. Past the gifts, past the bloodline, to the very core of what made her herself. There was a tiny spark there, not lunar power, but something more fundamental. The will to survive that had carried her through a childhood of abandonment and loss. The stubborn refusal to give up that had defined her entire life. She grabbed that spark and fed it everything she had left. Golden light, different from her restoration gift, simpler but more profound, spread through her body. Not healing so much as refusing to break. Her wounds closed slowly. Her heart continued to beat. And though the lunar mark remained fractured, she lived. Kael sobbed in relief, holding her as tightly as he dared. Around them, the Northern Pack howled their joy and triumph. Elena Thorne had faced a 500-year-old monster and won. She'd sacrificed her ascended form to save her people. And through sheer force of will, she'd refused to let death claim her. She was no longer the all-powerful Lunar Queen, but she was still herself. Still alpha female of the Northern Pack. Still Kael's mate. And that was enough. 3 months later, Elena stood on the balcony of the Northern Pack estate, watching the sun rise over mountains she'd come to love. Her fractured lunar mark had healed into a beautiful scar pattern. no longer glowing with power, but still marking her as special. She'd lost most of her gifts in the battle against Darius. The gift of storms was gone completely. The gift of sight came only in occasional flashes. But the gift of restoration had partially returned, enough to heal minor injuries and comfort the sick. More importantly, she'd gained something infinitely more valuable, a family. The Northern Pack had grown in the months since the Shadow Collective's defeat. Wolves from other packs, inspired by Elena's victory, had petitioned to join. The estate was now home to over 100 shifters, all loyal to their alpha pair. Strong arms wrapped around her from behind. Kael rested his chin on her shoulder, his warmth seeping into her bones. "Mara says the Council of Alphas wants to meet with you next month," he murmured. "They want to officially recognize you as the Lunar Queen." "I'm not queen of anything anymore," Elena protested. "I lost the ascension. I'm mortal again. You're queen because you chose to be when it mattered most. The power was never what made you special, Elena. It was your heart." She turned in his arms, meeting those silver eyes that had become her home. "No regrets. About what? Mating the woman who saved my life and my pack, who faces every challenge with courage and compassion, who makes me laugh and drives me crazy in equal measure." Kael kissed her softly. "Not a single one. Even though I can't do the cool lightning thing anymore? Especially because you can't. I was getting tired of having my fur singed." Elena laughed, the sound free and genuine. A year ago, she'd been serving coffee to strangers, invisible and alone. Now she stood on a mountain with a mate who adored her, a pack who respected her, and a purpose that filled every corner of her soul. "I love you," she said simply. "I love you too. My Elena. My mate. My queen." They stood together as the sun rose higher, casting everything in shades of gold and promise. The future was uncertain, it always would be. But Elena had learned something crucial in her journey from barista to Lunar Queen. True power wasn't about magic or prophecy or bloodlines. True power was choosing to stand up even when you were terrified, protecting those weaker than yourself, loving with your whole heart despite knowing it could break. That was the power that had defeated Darius. And that was the power that would carry her through whatever came next. "Come on," Kael said, taking her hand. "Marcus is making breakfast, and if we're late, he'll eat all the bacon." "That monster," Elena gasped in mock horror. They headed inside, their laughter echoing through the estate. Behind them, the lunar mark scar caught the sunlight, gleaming faintly with residual magic. Elena Moreau had been nobody. Elena Thorne was somebody who mattered. And that made all the difference. The end.